All right, so today we're going to show you how to change the potting soil for your philodendrons here. Here we got a few different ones. We got the silver sword, ring of fire. We got the Florida ghost, and we also got this spiritus sancti here. So the problem when you buy stuff like this from growers is because they do things in such bulk amounts, they're not going to have the soil that you're going to need to have the best possible plant. So when you get it, you can doctor it up a little bit, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Here's one that I just got in the other day. This is the silver sword, and honestly, terrible. As you can see, boom, that's the end of that. So this is all peat moss and perlite here, which is what a normal grower is going to use because they do things in bulk. Remember, these people are making 10,000 at a time, not like you in your house where you're doing 5 or 10, you know, or for all the plant weirdos when you're doing 200 plants in your house. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to use this peat moss and perlite, but we're going to add to it. So I'm going to use the Sol Houseplant Chunky Mix. And the whole point of this is that peat moss retains water, and philodendrons don't like to have soggy roots. They love moisture, but they don't want to have soggy roots. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to mix that peat moss in with the houseplant mix, and all I'm doing is giving it a little bit more drainage. And that's literally it. That's all you got to do. Next part. If you want to get rid of this peat moss, you could do that. You can use just a straight chunky houseplant mix. This is great stuff. I like to put a little peat moss in there because it's a little more forgiving because it retains some water, you know? And if you like to forget to water things like most of us do, this will help you to have some kind of moisture retained in there. One thing you got to remember is when you're potting up, when you're pulling them out of these little pots like this, and you're going to put them into a bigger pot, that plant doesn't have roots throughout this thing yet, and it isn't going to drink all that water as fast as it would if it was overgrown in a little 4-inch, you know, like this thing right here. This is one of our plants, by the way, so you get to see what actual roots look like. The entire thing is rooted all the way through. If I get that close enough there. See how this dirt isn't falling off? By the way, this is how we sell plants, real plants. So what happens is when you go to put this in a bigger area, it's not going to drink all the water in the surrounding soil. So definitely be a little more conscious when you first pot something up that you're not overwater, because you could easily overwater it even more when it's in the larger the pot gets. So here's a prime example. We got these. These are some tissue cultured Anthurium veitchii. Now, the veitchii definitely like a little bit drier mix. So if you were to go putting all that potting soil in this and plunking this in there, you might struggle a bit with it. I would say you'd go with a chunkier mix and put it in a smaller pot, and you'll have a way better luck until then you get those big beefy roots, and then you can go on potting it up to something large. All right, so we are going to pot up a couple of Anthurium veitchii. Now this is going to be a little bit different of an aroid. I don't like putting them in the same aroid mix or like a pure houseplant mix. This will work, but these often do better because they are an epiphytic high airflow plant, which means the roots love oxygen. They love to climb a tree, and they're not, you know, like a philodendron would be more of a terrestrial kind of plant, right? So what I'm gonna do, which we got both these soils you guys can get, is I like to put a little bit of the orchid mix in, like an epiphytic, you know, orchids. Put a little bit in with the houseplant chunky mix. Now, being that these liners are very small, a chunky orchid mix can be large, but I like to just crush it a little bit with your hand. You can break down some of that perlite in there a little bit. And now that is a very chunky mix right there. Now, An Anthurium veitchii is going to thrive in that. No peat moss. Now, if you struggle with growing more of the epiphytic type of aroids and you are using a chunkier mix, one of the things is now when you do that, you have to mimic the rainforest. This needs high humidity because the soil isn't going to hold water in it, but it still needs the water. So it's kind of like a double negative there. You could water this all day, all you want, and there's not much is staying in there. There's some cocoa coir in there that's going to hold on to some of it, but you need high humidity. You can use a humidifier. We're in Florida, it's 90% humidity. It's going to do great here. And this type of mix with this type of plant, that makes it so you cannot overwater it. You could try your heart out and you cannot overwater that plant there. But keep the humidity up. So I've got a good idea. What I got here is I got 2 of the tissue cultures of the veitchia. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a mix with some peat moss in it and have a little wetter mix. And then I'm going to do the one that I just made with the orchid bark and come back in a few months and we'll show you the difference of which one grew which way or which one didn't grow for that matter. So hit that follow button and hang in there. And once they get some growth on them, we'll make you another video. Hopefully it doesn't die.